to a show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Mats podcast. And this week's guest is good friend and returning guest. Basically, during the pandemic, or actually, was it before the pandemic? You started Arte Suave.
It was during.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, during the pandemic, our good friend Fredo started Arte Suave, and it's been rocking it ever since. So we're gonna welcome Fredo back and get the conversing. So Fredo, how you been, man? What's going on?
Man, I've been good. Just got out of training, so had a nice little sweat go on. Felt great. Yeah, we're keeping it going with the Arte Suave events. Slowed it down just a little bit. There's some months that we don't do them just because the market's kind of saturated with competition right now with IBJJF, Jiu-Jitsu World League, bunch of stuff going on. Everybody's trying to get people to compete, and it's great. But one thing that we have been doing is we've actually been traveling a bit more. So earlier this year, we went to Orange County, had a great event at Orange County. Southern California has such great jiu-jitsu. We had a great event, a lot of great matches. And our next event is in Phoenix, Arizona, which is July 16th. And we are also, so kind of rambling on, but a lot's changed since the last time I was on. We are kind of revamping our website. We're hosting our own pay-per-view on our own server, and we're going to also be live streaming Submissions on the Shore, which is run by Albert Tapia, and he started that with it being an all-women's show. And he then started these like smaller, like really small cash tournaments, like baddest blue belt at 145. And there'll be a bracket of 16 people. And the winner gets like $3,000 or whatever it is. I'm not sure exactly how he determines the amount the winner wins, but he runs those. Those seem to be pretty successful. He's going to be doing a 3 versus 3 baddest blue belt team like event, and I think the winner gets $3,000 or $5,000, something like that. So we're going to be streaming that event for Submissions on the Shore, and hopefully, we'll be continuing to do that, whether it's their pro shows or their tournaments. So okay. It should be pretty good. We've got the right equipment to be able to really put on a good show a good pay-per-view for different organizations, and hopefully we'll have the ability to do that for more organizations that maybe don't have the money to invest in the systems that we have. So I'm excited for that.
It sounds exciting. That's good. That's cool, dude. Yeah. You got a whole lot going on. I mean, you've always got a lot going on, but it's like, the cup has gotten larger, so there's so much more to put into it. So that's really cool to hear. Just it's crazy to hear because, just running, the event itself always seemed like, you can handle it, but there was still a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. And, now, I guess once you've kind of mastered that, you can add in some additional pieces, and you're competing. It looks like every time I look up, it's like, man, like he's still going, which again, good, never shy away from that.
Yeah.
But stay busy, man. That's good.
Yeah, it's actually so funny, and I think I mentioned this before. One of the main reasons that we started this
was because I know one of my reasonings was I wanted to compete. And funny thing is, the very first Arte Suave, I wasn't even on the card because so many people applied. Like we tried to fit as many people as we could, but we could only hold so many people, especially during peak COVID, January, I think it was 2021, numbers were spiking. People were sending us messages. Are you guys still holding the event? And I'm like, well, luckily we were in a county that really was very conservative about COVID. And they're like, well, if you guys do what you do on private property, we're not going to do anything. So luckily we held it again in a county like that, and we stuffed 100 people in a room and had jujitsu, and it was not, we were having an event every single month just because people wanted to compete. And yeah, so we've again, like I said, we've continued to do that. What we have, I haven't we haven't officially announced it, but we're going to be moving around much more. um, you've probably seen the events. They're mainly held in Sacramento, the Sacramento area. And Sacramento is a good central location for Northern California. We got people coming down from Redding, from Chico, from the Bay Area, up from Stockton, down from Reno. Like, it's a good central location. But we're going to do a little bit more Orange County. We're doing San Diego later this year. Again, we're doing Phoenix. Definitely want to go to Boise, Idaho. I want to go to Portland. Want to go to Seattle. Would love to go to New Mexico. I think there's some great schools in New Mexico. Yeah, just hit up different spots on the West Coast. That's definitely a plan, and probably and even hit up the Bay Area. The Bay Area is only 2 hours away from Sacramento, but I think we need to show them some love. They've been coming to Sacramento for over a year now, a lot of their competitors. So it would just be, common courtesy to return the favor. That's how I see it. Like, San Diego has showed us so much love. Barrett Submissions, Legion, Atos. Like, we've had so many competitors from all those schools, AOJ. And for me, it just seems right um, to reciprocate that and travel down to where they're at so their family members can watch them in person, because we do have the pay-per-view option, which is really good now. Like, the way we have our pay-per-view, it's with the wireless. We have wireless transmitters. We have a gimbal. I think I told you last time we were looking into doing the walkouts and things of that nature. We're doing that now.
Hey, and that's the thing. You had a vision, you have a plan, you set in motion, and you know you may not get there right away, but you're there eventually. And now you're traveling. I think that's really cool because I know previously, I think not the last time we talked, but I think maybe the second time I had you on, there was someone. I can't remember where they're coming from, but no, it was from out of state. It wasn't too far away, but it was just, I think there's some kind of a conflict there. They couldn't do it that time around.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Um, it was a young kid, Jacob Brown, and then
Yes.
he ended up being on the card and had an awesome match. Yeah, he was on the card in Orange County as well. Yeah. So it's yeah, like I said, it's to see the amount of people that want to come. To me, it's a little surreal still. It's been a year and a half of we're going to be on our 16th event. To me, it's still surreal that I get messages from people and they tell me, I would love to be on your event. Like, these are people, like, they're excited to compete for Arte Suave. And they're like, we want to be on the event, and there's an excitement there. And I'm like, well, because I've gotten used to running the event and seeing it constantly, and it's just like, and I'm very critical of everything. Like we have a great event and a lot of people love it, but I'm still very critical over many different things that we do. And I wish we can change certain things, but we either don't have the funding or the space, or because again, we still donate a large portion, and I still want to continue that forever as long as I can, donate a portion of what we make to different nonprofits.
Mhm.
So it's not just reinvesting into making it better, but we also give away a lot of money, and sometimes we just randomly give money to wherever it's needed. That's I feel like that's something we need in this world.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, that's I think that's a good thing that I'm hypercritical of our show, with certain things that I want to be able to adjust, and some things I can't. We can't adjust within a good time frame, and then there's others that we can't. So, and then I also, like you said, I'm always competing as well, whether it's on Arte Suave, Fight to Win, IBJJF, and I'm constantly looking at these different tournaments, these different formats, and I'm seeing how they do stuff, and I'm like, what are you doing? How can I do it better? And what are you missing? Um, which is like why we have changed our rule set a couple times. And I think we found a good sweet spot where we're at with our rule set now.
You being hypercritical of everything is part of a big part of what makes it so successful. You know, you want it to be done right, and you have an ideal. And, if you're not critical of those things, if you just say, oh, that was good enough, you know, it's not the best product. I mean, I do that a lot with the podcast sometimes. It's like sometimes I'm just like it'll be all right. Like I'm 100 in, like you guys be fine, but the best way to get the most out of your product is to be hypercritical, because again, if you're not, you don't grow.
Yeah.
You don't fix anything that went wrong previously. You just let it stay. It's like, oh well, the sound is not the best. Okay, well, we'll get to it when we get to it. Or someone might say the sound was pretty good, and you're like, well, no, it was a little low, on the walkouts. We got to find a way to adjust that to make it sound just right. You know, people villainize perfection, but the thing is, if you're providing a product, you know, no one can fault anyone for wanting their product to be perfect. So, good on you, dude.
Yeah. Thank you.
With you competing, whether it be Fight to Win or IBJJF, or even Arte Suave, how does, kind of balancing that all out work for you right now?
I think it depends on exactly like what my mentality is at the time. I find myself to be a really particular person. Like well, if you ask any of my teammates, they'll tell you how interesting I am. Like I'm a weird guy. Uh, but it's I was literally just telling people now about the match that I have coming up for Fight to Win right now. So I'm gonna try and make this as short as possible, but like I naturally already deal with anxiety, and I feel like I have a pretty good poker face most of the time. But when I compete, that anxiety peaks and it gets really bad, and I've learned to deal with it through competition. So I stay, for the most part, it's a very weird feeling. It's like I'm relaxed, but I still have anxiety because I kind of find a way to relax within my anxiety.
Sure, I get
It's
it.
one of the yeah, it's very weird concept, but it's very possible. And I'll do that with most of my competitions and be fairly relaxed. This one I'm a little bit more like, not on edge, but I was on a cruise and I don't remember where I was at, somewhere in the Caribbean, and I got cell service, and looked through emails and I saw an email from Seth saying, "Hey, would you like a match 190 pounds against so and so?" And I just responded. I'm like, "Yes, it is what it is. Like, yes, and I'll find out who that is later and deal with weight later." I was way under that before my cruise. After my cruise, probably probably over.
Yeah. It's a cruise. Enjoy yourself.
Oh, I sure did. So, after I come back, I take a look them up, like most people should, especially if you're on Fight to Win. You should definitely look up your opponent. And I saw him, and I'm like, oh shoot, like this guy's really good. And he's gonna be bigger than me. I looked up some of his IBJJF fights at heavyweight, which is at least for no-gi fights at heavyweight, which is about 200 pounds. For gis, I think 205. So I'm like, okay, he's gonna be fairly larger than me, because now I'm way under, not way under, but I'm definitely under 190. So I'm like, okay, the way I see this is like it's like a head I want to put on the wall. It's like it's an accomplishment, because it's like the guy's bigger and he's very talented, because jiu-jitsu can definitely get you, good technique, good jiu-jitsu can definitely win matches with size difference. But what happens when that person that's bigger than you has just as good as jiu-jitsu as you do? So for me, it's a good measuring stick, and if I can accomplish a win over him, I think it's going to be great, just because he's really good from the videos that I watch. So I'm really focused on that, and I'm trying to balance like that Phoenix event and going back and forth and taking my training seriously, because I'm really hunting in this match. Hopefully it gives me the results that I want, but I'm excited. And usually matches like this, I'm the type of person that needs to be occupied and busy, because my anxiety will definitely take over. So the more I do stuff, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether it's working on Arte Suave, or focusing on a goal, I keep my anxiety better at bay when I do that. So the more I compete, the more I can keep that anxiety at bay for whatever I'm doing. So that's how I kind of manage. It doesn't really explain how I do it, but it's the reason why.
It works for you, though.
And that's it works counts for me. Yeah.
All right. When mentioning that your opponent's going to be bigger than you, going into the match, like when you're training and getting prepped, like how much is in terms of like, I guess, weight training or strengthening, what kind of a role does that play for you getting prepped for a match?
So this whole year I've really focused on upping my strength. I would say near the beginning of the year, I was probably walking around at 177, I would say. And then I started lifting weights. Shout out to my friend Wild Hunt Conditioning. That's who helps me out with my strength and conditioning. He has me on now that I came back from my cruise, we were on a strict, not a strict, but we're gonna be working. But I followed some stuff that he showed me and help for jiu-jitsu, not specifically, but just for general strength, which would translate into jiu-jitsu. And I definitely noticed a difference in strength. A lot of people noticed it in me as well. Like, people mentioning that I look bigger, and I did gain some weight. So I went from walking around at 177 to like 183. So I gained like 5 pounds. I definitely lost fat. So it was a good amount of muscle that I gained from doing his program. Yeah. So right now I feel fairly strong. I'm still doing that. Like I wanted to continue to lose weight after my cruise, and James, which is the guy from Wild Hunt Conditioning, he was like, no, just eat, eat this amount of calories, maintain your weight. It's just 1 week of you maintaining this weight, and then afterwards we'll lose it. And he's like, better be closer to 190, especially if he's going to be bigger than you, and than not. So I'm hovering, under 190, but I'll definitely be under. I might be able to. I was jokingly saying that I was going to hop on the scale with probably like a backpack and a beer in my hand.
That always fascinates me when I'm watching UFC weigh-ins or anything, and the guys go up there like fully clothed, shoes on, and everything. It's like, oh, you weighing in with full confidence.
Yeah.
Like, damn, okay. Meanwhile, you got other fighters. They got to strip down completely naked. To weigh in is like, damn, that is that was a struggle I could see.
Yeah.
When you're working out, and do you have like a preferred time that you feel best, like time of day that you feel best in working out?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like for me, it's the earlier the better. If I could do it 6 a.m. and yeah, just get it out of the way at 6 a.m. To me, that's the best case scenario. Yeah, I don't think there's any other better time for me. Especially, I usually do it at 6 a.m. and then at night I'll go to jujitsu at night. So I have enough time to. The workout that I do don't really put that much of a strain on my muscles, but it's still enough time for me to recover and feel great for training. Yeah.
And I know for myself, I used to love getting up early in the morning to work out. And the goofy thing is, I have equipment here at home. Even, put the exercise bike up here in my room and got all my yoga equipment up here. So it's like, okay, there's no excuse for me not to get up at, 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. and work out before work. And my daughter comes in, wakes me up. It's like, hey, I want to watch cartoons. And it's like, I want to watch cartoons too. So
Yeah.
that's why I don't do it.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
But hey, I mean, it is really a matter of the discipline though that you have, and just the perfection that that you put into what you do with Arte Suave, and that carries over though to just everything you do, whether it be training, jiu-jitsu, strengthening your body, it all connects. So it's not just you're not going to be particular about details on one thing and then another thing, just saying, the hell with it.
Yeah.
I don't need all the details here.
Yeah. I know I'm very highly critical of my own jiu-jitsu. Like very, very critical. Like even when I win a match, I'll rewatch what I'm doing. I'm like, what the hell are you doing there? Like there's literally a lot of times where I tell myself like, you look terrible, and like other people are like, oh wow, you did great. I'm like, I don't think so.
I mean, again, that plays into your just being particular about things. And I always find that being a slippery slope, going the other way. If somebody says, hey man, that arm bar was great, you got a sick arm bar, and it's like, yeah, but I could tweak it here and make it better. I mean, you always want to look for ways to make it better. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
With your workouts, like how long is a typical workout for you?
Weight, like weights, it's usually like dumbbells, kettlebells, or free weight. It's probably like 40 minutes. It doesn't take very long. It's just you're kind of reinforcing, your muscles and strengthening different parts of your body to do different tasks. And it's mainly strengthening muscles that he showed me something on Friday that is like you're carrying this weight and you're doing it kind of like you're walking with weight on one side. He called it something. I'm gonna ask him. But he said, he was telling me, he's like, it may not seem like anything, but because you're carrying weight on one side, and as you're walking, you're having to kind of balance on one foot as you're walking. And he was mentioning in jiu-jitsu, sometimes you're on one foot all the time, trying to balance. And if you develop the strength for that and are able to balance on that one foot, then you might do better in that situation, or you're someone's trying to trip you, or there could be many different scenarios in jiu-jitsu that you would need that.
Gotcha.
Just different things like that. And it's it's interesting, and it usually only takes like 40 minutes, but I'll definitely feel it. And I feel it when I roll too. Like, I feel great. Like, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing has been helping out my top pressure so much, like insane amount, because my grips are like iron grips on pant legs or whatever I can grab. It's like, I'm not letting this go, and I'll be pressing or pulling ways that I need, and keeping that like isometric strength that I've been using with what he's been having me do, and I feel strong. I'm definitely not as strong as he is, but I'm definitely I feel good enough to compete, or to be as strong as most people in my, especially in my weight division, but also in higher weight divisions, I feel like I can match their strengths, at least, hopefully. We'll find out.
Well, I mean, the key factor is you feel like you're getting strong. You feel like you're improving. That's a good thing. So keep rocking that.
Thank you.
How does nutrition factor in for you? Like, how are you eating?
This is actually a joke that happens all the time. I have people tell me like, Fredo, you need to eat like an athlete. And I'm like, yeah, but I like to. I struggle with that a little bit more. If I've got a competition coming up, I eat clean. Like, well, let me rephrase that. If I have an IBJJF, because I want to be as close as to my competition weight as possible for IBJJF, like, there'll be times where I need to cut like 2 pounds of water, like 1 or 2. And honestly, you can lose that easily in a training session, jiu-jitsu session. So to me, that's not a big deal. So I try to eat as clean as possible, so I don't retain as much water, and I'm walking around as close as possible to the middle weight is where I compete at. So most of the time I'm like 180 without the gi on, and by the time I actually weigh in, I'm like 180 with the gi on, because what I sweated out 1 or 2 pounds, and then by the time I actually have to weigh in, I probably lost a little bit more, so I overdo it sometimes. But I still feel fine, so it's not like I'm cutting 10 pounds to get there.
Yeah.
Now, day before weigh-ins, that's a different story, because it's like I said, I typically lose, like, if I have a really hard training session. So for example, fight to win. If I usually train Thursday nights, I'll lose 4 to 5 pounds, and let's say I'm walking around at 185. I lose 5 pounds, go to sleep, wake up. I'll wake up at like 178, 179. Just because I didn't rehydrate, and I weigh in, because most of the time you can do virtual weigh-ins now. So I weigh in, and then drink water, eat, and be up about my merry day, and get back up to 185, or whatever I'm walking around at. So I could be a little bit more reckless with my diet when it's day before, for that reason. Just because the way that I am, eating and drinking water and taking all my, all my minerals that I need. My body does a really good job at retaining water. There's times where I'll walk on the mat and leave like sweat prints from my feet. Yeah, and we haven't even started, class, and I'm leaving those. So
We share that in common, my friend. I'm
so
definitely the sweaty guy.
We are well hydrated.
Yeah, that's true. I went to visit a friend's gym last week for an open mat up in Virginia at Shark Pit BJJ,
Okay, yeah.
and they, this is the first time I've met them in person, like anyone at the gym. So the only thing going through my head is like, God, I I'm the sweaty guy. I'm always a sweaty guy. It's like, come on, you can control it. You can control it. You got this. And immediately I get out there, roll with one of their purple belts, and like immediately just dripping. So it was so bad I slipped in my own sweat. So it's like that's not uncommon, but it's embarrassing when you're doing it in front of new people. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
But, hey, whatever though. So yeah, as far as nutrition goes, again, we're twins in that regard. What's the healthiest food that you eat most often?
I would. One of the foods that I love that's incredibly healthy is eggs. So I'll eat eggs, 3 eggs. I'll tell you what I eat. I'll tell you what I eat leading up to an IBJJF. I'll eat 3 eggs. I'll get half and half. Mix, whisk the eggs until it's all mixed together nice. Well, throw it on the pan on a very low setting. Let it cook very slowly, and then I'll throw some cheese on it, a good amount of cheese, very liberal with the cheese at least. Some avocado, and then maybe a coffee. And then for lunch, I'll usually eat like some type of fruit or fruits and veggies, maybe like cantaloupe, watermelon, strawberries, and then I'll eat some chicken, probably like 10 ounces of chicken, some more avocado. I love avocado as well. And then what else do I eat? I eat one more thing. Oh, and I eat a lot of like almond butter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'll eat a good amount of that. So usually high in fat, high protein, lower carb. Leading up to that, if I'm cutting weight, I'm probably eating like 2,200 calories a day, maybe 2. But yeah, that's what I'm eating. If I'm not like cutting weight and I'm trying to maintain, I'll have protein pancakes and lather the butter on it, and not a bunch of syrup, but 2 tablespoons of syrup for the 2 pancakes that I eat usually. But that's those are my 2 favorite meals: the protein pancakes and the eggs.
Nice. Yeah, I'm over here as you're listing off the fruits. I'm sitting here just thinking it's almost 1 a.m. here, and I'm just thinking like, damn, dude, I want to go downstairs right now and just get a bowl of cantaloupe.
That's it. Really, really cold cantaloupe, and it's like super sweet. That's the best.
Oh yeah,
The best.
yeah. It's like growing up, I didn't get to have cantaloupe a whole lot, but when I did, it always had to be like, it had to be cold. It couldn't be, like you go to like a party and the fruit platter sitting out. It can't be that cantaloupe. It's room temperature, slimy. And it's like, oh man, come on.
Gotta be cold. As soon as you bite into it, you feel it in your teeth. Oh, that's the best.
like you feel like there's this magic taking place.
Yeah, it's one of the most refreshing fruits that you can eat cold, I feel.
Absolutely. But that's good though. I mean, it's not like you have bad habits that you let trump your decision making as you compete and everything. What like are there any like kind of good habits that have developed specifically out of training, I guess, like something, things that you didn't normally do that now because of training is just automatic for you now, not even thinking about it.
Yeah, so for the long this is gonna take a little bit of backstory, I guess. I When I first started jujitsu, I was way bigger. Not Definitely not as strong at the moment. I hadn't lifted weights and God knows how long. Um, and I was pretty out of shape. And I just got to the point where, um, in my jujitsu, even for being a bigger guy, I really tried to rely on technique more than anything. I'd get out muscled by like really athletic or really strong guys, and I just continued grinding until I could get the technique down and be able to stop a lot of stuff with technique. Um, and then it got to a point where I was able to figure out in competition very quickly that you actually need to use a little bit of strength and use a little bit of speed that you have to get some stuff done. And um, I kind of paid for it with losing some competitions because I wanted to rely on technique too much. Like I was very accepting of certain positions, and I was just like, well, I'll just work from here, instead of being more assertive and being like, nope, I'm not going to allow that. And even then today, my coach was reminding me, it's like, no, when you guys are both sitting down, like, and let's say on your butts, like you were trying to pass and you guys both sat down, he's like, you better come right back up. Like, don't concede to the sweep, like stay on top. And even now, sometimes you have to be reminded, oh yeah, because I don't mind playing guard or playing top, really. So there's still some of that around, but I am definitely way more assertive in the sense of like, no, this is, I'm going to dictate my pace. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be going like balls to the wall, but I'm going to be dictating where it goes. Like I'm not going to let somebody else dictate. And I'm also still being more assertive in my speed and strength, especially in competition. And sometimes I do that in training. There'll be times where I'm very relaxed, very calm, and then there's days that I'm not. Like today was definitely not a calm day for me. I was sweating, very tired. Like I wanted to throw up today.
Mm.
That's how much I. And again, it's probably has to do with the match that I got coming up on Saturday. Um, that I'm getting my mind ready for a very tough grinding match. Um, that's probably why I decided to do that today. And then there's other days where I'll have some training partners tell me, they're like, you have a really wide spectrum of how you roll. There's times where I'm like super relaxed, and other times where I'm like, I have to say I'm sorry to them. I'm like, sorry, I'm getting ready for a competition, and it's good. I feel like it's good to have that wide spectrum, because sometimes you need to turn it up in a roll, and sometimes you need to slow it down and think and make sure that you're doing the right thing.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you multidimensional,
Yeah.
so that's good. So with everything going on as far as prep for competing, what's your stretching game like? Are you big into stretching, or you just kind of like my coach would always say, like the old man's corner, where we kind of do like the arm stretches real quick and maybe do like a quick quad stretch and we're like, all right, I'm ready to roll. Or you like full like into it, making sure you're good and limber getting onto the mat.
Um, I think I'm like in a middle area of those two. Um, I don't. overstretch, I guess, and go all crazy and get every little part of me loose. I get loose enough, and I like to like get a nice flow roll or decent like 50% roll in, and then I feel like I'm loose enough to compete. So again, shout out to Dr. Kickass. Uh, he's a physical therapist. He's when I messed up my knee, I messed up my LCL last year. He helped me rehab it, and he taught me a lot of uh, different things to do to increase hip mobility. And just by doing that, it increased my hip mobility so much. It's insane, like where my hip mobility is now compared to what it was a year and a half ago. And I still do a lot of the stuff that he shows me for my, whether it's for my back, shoulders, my hips. I mainly do for my hips because I like to play guard, especially in practice. I'll play guard, and I need to have good inner hip rotation for the guards that I like to play. So,
Yeah, gotcha.
I make sure that I do that, and other than that, yeah, I'm usually good to go after those two things, and I'll feel good.
Good, good. So the upcoming Arte Suave event, you said July 16th, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Um, what can you tell me about that upcoming card?
Oh, there's some really good matches, man. Again, I think we do a very good job at matching up guys that haven't gone up against each other, or asking people to maybe go up a little bit in weight, just to see what happens. Like, hey, what if this person from this weight division went up against this person? Like, that's what makes the UFC so successful, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
we get to see the matches that everybody wants to watch, and that's somewhat the philosophy for the local guys. Most of these guys aren't like widely known. They're not Gordon Ryans. They're not Lucas Lepre. They're local guys. And they're most likely not professionals, and they most likely have day jobs, and they do this for fun, but they take it seriously enough where they're good. And so, people like to watch good matches and support their family, friends, and what better way to get as evenly matched possible, a match that is evenly as even as possible. Can't talk.
I got you.
Yeah. Um, and have your friends and family watch that. It's for me as a competitor, I think there's something when you beat somebody too easily, it's not as satisfying. At least for me, it's not as satisfying. It's like, okay, it took 40 seconds for me to beat you. It's not, unless you're really good and I beat you in 40 seconds, then maybe that's great. But if you're, another competitor, like same level or whatever, I don't know, 40-second win to me is not like a grinding win where I was able to get a good submission, a knee bar on you or something, after like 5 minutes of grinding, and I was able to get that in, or after, you know, let me struggle a little bit. And I
Yeah,
feel like I earned my win. Um, and that's just me. So
sure.
I'm very sure many people disagree with that, but it's okay.
No,
I'm
it
like like I said, I'm a weird person.
that builds character, dude. When you have that challenge, even when you see it in the UFC, you see, that dogfight, that just that war,
Right.
between two fighters, and at the end of it all, that it's changed that fighter. You can see it in the next fight. You could see, as they move along in their career. So there's growth out of that. So
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I mean, and there is something to getting that quick win too, though. It's like let's
Yeah.
just get the hell out of here.
Yeah. I I've had some of those, and it felt weird. Everyone was super happy, like your teammates, like hell yeah, you just won in like 30 seconds. But it when when it happened to me earlier this year, it was just the best way I can put it. It was very anticlimactic.
Sure, I get you.
So I've had the long, drawn out, tough, very close matches, and I've had the quick, the quicker ones. But I had more fun in the long, drawn out ones. Like I had one on Arte Suave where I didn't know the guy. He was coming up from Southern California, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna not run through him, but I was like, oh, okay, I should be able to be dominant in this, and I definitely wasn't. it was very close to the very end. I feel like I barely beat him. I did just enough to be able to beat him, and it was such a fun match to me. It's like afterwards, that was super rewarding to me because it's like I just beat somebody who was very good. Like I was able to grind for 8 minutes, and at the 7 minute mark, that's when I was able to break away and make a difference to be able to solidify a win. And that made it feel very good, just because it didn't start off the way I wanted it to start off. So yeah, but that's how I kind of see competition in that aspect.
Upcoming with everything in terms of future events, like you were saying, you kind of, with competition season being around and everyone competing, as far as like organizations competing for grapplers, are you kind of still doing monthly, or kind of bouncing every other month, or what's the timetable for you in that regard?
Right now we're still kind of doing every month. Randomly we'll have 1 month off. I think we've had 1 month off already. I don't even remember which month. I think it was May. We didn't do anything in May. And then this next month in August, we're not going to do anything, which is really good because we're actually going to work on a lot of back end stuff on the website and a lot of different things, which is going to give us time to do that instead of scrambling and trying to get as much done as possible before the event. So I think that's good. But for the most part, if we don't have any personal stuff, because I may have some stuff going on, Kelsey may have some stuff going on, it makes it difficult for us to run the show if one of us has a lot of extracurricular activities going on that month. Like, again, I had my cruise and I was gone for a week, and so that drove me insane with not being able to do anything for Arte Suave, and then being able to get back into the grind and pushing stuff through has been a little difficult. And yeah, so I'd rather not have an event when we have something like that. But this month it was different, so we had to change things up and definitely just keep grinding, and we had to move the event to Phoenix, and we pushed that through in a month. So we like to have things planned out way longer than that and promote it more than that, but we had to make last second changes, and we made it work. And I think it's going to be a really good turnout and good event. And if you like jiu-jitsu, I would definitely watch this event. So many great fighters. There's a guy that I competed against when I first, yeah, had my purple belt. I wasn't a purple belt very long. But I was not over. Yeah, I was overweight, somewhat. I wasn't really training hard. We'll just say that.
Okay.
He had somebody pull out, and Kelsey's like, oh, they pulled out. I'm like, well, ask him if he'll take it at 175. I had like 10 senorita breads, stepped on the scale. I was like 190 something. I'm like, oh, sure, I'll do it. Like, if I can get to like 185, 10 pounds of water, I could do that. Like, and yeah, I was able to do that, and went up against him. He was very good, very fast, and he's a cool guy. He's got very good jiu-jitsu, and the guy that he's going up against is very, very good as well. So they're two brown belts. I think it's at 175. Yeah, I think it is at 175. And it's gonna be a very, very good. I'm anticipating it being a contender for like fight of the night type match, because these guys are both very explosive and technical, and they're gonna make it a fun match. I've seen one of the guys. I've seen Tyler Held dismantle really good jiu-jitsu practitioners, and that's the guy that I competed against, and he definitely made me work very hard in that match, and he beat me. But his opponent is very, very good as well. Yeah, he's the his name is Gabriel Santos, Gabriel de los Santos, and I believe he is a fight to win champ, from what I remember. Yeah, he trains at Jay Page's, which Jay Page's has great competitors. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a fight to win champ. I just don't know at what belt level.
Well, that sounds like that'll be a good fun match to see. And it kind of, my next question was going to be, is there any specific match that you're excited for? So I know you always have a lot of good, exciting matches, but if there's any one match that you would say don't miss, it sounds like this would be it, actually.
Yeah, I would say that one for sure. Yeah, it'd be that one, and then I'm excited to watch. She is a brown belt. Her name is Kazaya Nunez. I like watching her compete. She's incredibly technical. Like, she's small, like 118-pound girl, willing to fight up. But she's very technical, and I like watching her compete just because she gets stuff done with she's not relying on her age, athleticism, speed, strength, or anything like that. Like, you could tell this girl, she's gonna beat you, and she's gonna beat you with technique. And if there's any, if you want respect from me, then that's one clear way to get respect from me is being incredibly technical, and being able to do that without bursts of energy and all that. Like, if you can get a nice clean sweep, you'll probably get a nice reaction out of me.
Noted. I'll keep that in mind when I do make a trip out there to California. I'll try not to leak all over the mats like I've done up in Virginia now. Ew, don't let that guy come back. Nasty.
We'll leave sweat prints together.
They're like, oh, I thought this was jiu-jitsu, not swimming. Whatever, leave us alone. We can't help it.
We're used to. We got a guy named Logan that leaves literally like a river of sweat. So
I'm actually sweating like as the warm-ups are like just started. So when I'm shrimping, it's like a snail just went across the mats. It's like, oh, I feel bad for anybody that has to shrimp after me or like along the line with me. So I try to go last because number one, I wouldn't say I'm a slow shrimper, but I'm definitely not like everybody else trying to like rush down the mat. But then there's also just this like streak of sweat and like, dude, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's definitely Logan. Hopefully he hears this. He knows.
So yeah, it sounds like everything's in good motion. I'm glad to hear that, man. I was thinking about the other day. I was like, man, I haven't talked to Fredo in a while. and just hopping around on Instagram, it's almost kind of like I'm like I hop on, then I hop off. It's almost not even enough time for me to like. It used to be like I'd be on there, go message a few people, we converse a little bit. And now it's just like I'm in and out. So I'm starting to miss conversations that with just people, yourself, being one of those people. So it's like definitely want to sit down and talk with you. And also with doing the podcast now, I have to remind myself, it's like you don't have to have people on the podcast to talk to them, which my wife is starting to get annoyed with because, like, we'll be having like a deep conversation, like, dude, we should record this. It's like no, Dante, like, no. Then I'll hit record on my phone, which it's just it's almost like never ending now, just with all of this. But no, I'm definitely glad to hear that things are still running really, really well with Arte Suave, and the growth is there. I'm happy to hear that. And just with you competing also, and just that good balance. So good, good. Glad to
Yeah.
hear it, man.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
So we'll go ahead and get wrapped up here, just as it's late here. You got right home from practice and hopped on. So I want to let you get home, get out of here, get some good rest. But before we get out of here, shout outs, mentions, what you got for me?
Yeah, I would just say mainly, I think a good amount of the jiu-jitsu community follows Dr. Kickass. I mentioned him in the podcast. Um, and then also Wild Hunt Conditioning. Um, we're we're going to be working with him and trying to get some content out for him for some strength and conditioning. Great guy, super folk. Like if you want to get stronger and get in better shape for jiu-jitsu, um, he's a great guy for that. Like it's been helping me out a ton, and it's been proven results. And again, like I said, for this match, it's really I'm pushing myself very much, and I'm excited to see if it results in something good.
And then also you have Arte Suave 16 coming up on July 16th. I'll make sure to put the link in the story for that, or in the show notes. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And otherwise, everyone else out there listening, as always, thank you for the support. Thank you for just your time. I was messing around on Instagram the other day looking at old stories in the archives, and I'm sitting there just looking at all the support from everyone. So thank you everyone who's tagged off the mats and reshared the links. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it more than you can ever imagine. um, I want to also give a big shout out to Shane Sorensen. He was a recent guest on the show, and he just released a book called Renaissance Wisdom: How to Flourish in the Modern Day. So go check that out. It's on Amazon. I have a copy of it sitting right here next to my bedside. Read a couple pages every night before bed. It's good. I was listening to it prior to him coming on the show, but the audio setup that I had wasn't the best. So I was like, you know what? Let's just get back to good old fashioned reading. So do yourselves a favor, go check that book out. Also, big shout out to Armbar Attic. You all know the deal. A couple kids out there in Austin, Texas now, no longer Denver, Colorado. Go check them out on Instagram. Go check out the website, armbarattic.com. And just keep tabs on there. A couple funny kids doing a lot of funny social media stuff out there. So go give them a listen. Go give them a follow. Also, last but not least, big shout out to my guests here, Fredo and Arte Suave Elite. I'm going to make sure, get the links set up here so you guys can catch up to the next event, and also just keep tabs, period. So Thank you for being the guest on the show as usual, my friend. I do appreciate you giving me your time. Everyone who's listening, thank you. You guys continue to listen, and I'm going to keep making these shows. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye, good night. No, it doesn't matter. Bye, y'all.
Deep with it. Now let me sing a song.